I like to teach. So that's, the stupidest thing ever uttered in the English language was probably those that can do and those that can't teach. And I mean, Seamus Heaney taught, poets have to teach because there's virtually no way to make a living as a poet. So there's that, and there's also, you learn from teaching. All I can do is tell people how I write songs, but that's not, that doesn't mean I'm presenting it as the only way to approach. I'm basically teach the way that I do it, mainly to make people aware that I arrived at this. It's the way that I'm doing it now. It has evolved a lot over the years, and I try to talk about that. And it changes as the situation changes. It changes as what I'm writing changes. It changes. It's making it as adaptable as possible. And some of it has to do with me changing. Me getting older, me living in a different part of the country. I was a nocturnal writer in my 20s and 30s, and then a morning writer in my 40s. And now I've discovered that I can't be too particular what time I write, or I won't get everything I need to get written. So I need to write when I have time to write. So, and I think I'm able to do it because I'm better than I was when I was in my 20s and 30s. Well, I had really good teachers. I got to Nashville, Tennessee in sort of a golden era that was sort of post Chris Christopherson, and really, for the uninitiated, the truth is it's post Mickey Newberry. And Mickey Newberry was the dean of us all. He's part of the reason Christopherson went there in the first place, and Chris will tell you that. But there were always smart songwriters in Nashville that wrote great songs. Willie Nelson's really fucking smart, and Roger Miller was ridiculously smart, and Hank Cochran, smart. All those guys, Harlan Howard, really smart guys. But the difference between the generation before me was they were post-Bob Dylan songwriters that went to Nashville and wrote songs. And we really were singer-songwriters at heart. We really wanted to make records of our own, all of us. Now, very few of us went there wanting to be staff writers and sit in the room. I had Towns as a teacher, but he was more like, give me a copy of Burying My Heart at Wounded Knee and tell me to go read it. And then Guy would actually show me how he went about writing songs, and work, and sitting around with Guy in my 20s is I probably draw more in this course from that, because Guy would show me how he laid things out on paper, making a template, when you're writing, and we talk about that in the course. And we talk about, I write on computers now. We talk about that. I got to Nashville right when there was this moment where there was like a salon that existed, and it was like at John Lomax's house and Guy and Susanna's house. On any given night, there were people sitting around and a guitar going around the room. And there were the people that lived in Nashville and that were from street level up. There was like me and David Olney and people that were scuffling, and then, Guy, Susanna, Rodney Crowell, before he left to go play with Emmy, and he would pass through town after that. Dick Feller, Dave Loggins, Jim Stafford, and it just kind of went up. And Harlan Howard, would turn up, and even though Harlan was very much established by that time. And Neil Young would pass through town, and Jerry Jeff Walker would pass through town, and Dickie Betts would pass through town, and when the Allmans were around, and the Allmans were around quite a bit because it was the 70s. And I was just lucky. I got there for that moment, and I learned a lot. It's my job, and I work in a lot of different forms, but songwriting will be what I do best because I started it first. And I did it for a long time before I even attempted anything else, because I kind of thought, well, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do, and I'm not good enough or educated enough to do those other things. And I figured out, though, that when I was 40, that I'd learned a lot writing songs at the level that I was writing them, and learning it from the people that I learned it from, and that I could do more than I thought. Songs are a unique art form. They're Gregory Corso used to get pissed off when when songwriters were referred to as poets, and I get it, because a poet has to work without the effect that sheer tonality has on emotion. You know, a poet, when I play a minor chord, I've got you headed in a certain direction before I say a word. You know, so songwriting is a multimedia art form. It hits you on a lot of different levels, probably more than almost anything else you can think of. The only thing you could do that's more 3D than songwriting is write a play. You know, that's just about it. You know, about the only thing you can do that hits more different emotional nerves than songwriting is to write a play, which I've done, and it's hard, and it's even harder and more complicated. And now I'm actually getting ready to write a musical, and I'm taking some songs that I already wrote for an album that always sort of felt like that kind of song, like Washington Square Serenade, and that's kind of the next project after this blues record of mine that's coming out. And then I've got a country record half written. Sean Colvin and I are writing songs for a record we're going to do together. And then I'm going to try something that's gotten a lot of people that came from where I came from asses kicked in this town. I'm going to try to write a musical, and I'm just arrogant enough to think that I can do it. If you whether you it's your first time at Camp Copperhead or whether you're coming back, I think that you'll come away with something this year, and you are welcome to come back, and we'll be glad to have you.
I prayed as I rode down the low highway.